Incredibly chilling words. Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah, really powerful.
Today we're exploring something quite extraordinary, really deeply personal. It's the last will, the final message, of Anas Al-Sharif. He was a journalist, and his words came out via a YouTube video on Al Jazeera Arabic.
And our aim here, our mission for this deep dive, is really to carefully unpack what he left behind. We want to pull out the core messages, try to understand his perspective as he presented it.
Right, and reflect on, the human experiences in his words. We're sticking closely to the source material provided.
Exactly. We're focusing on the insights he wanted to share, his personal plea, and the legacy he hoped for.
Okay, so let's get into it. First, setting the scene. His life, it seems defined by this constant presence of conflict, but also surprisingly hope.
Yes. He identified himself. His aim was to be a supporter and voice for his people. That's quite a declaration.
It really is. And it's rooted in his background, isn't it?
Absolutely. He mentions being born, raised right there in the alleys and neighborhoods of the Jabalia refugee camp.
So that's not just like a biographical fact.
Yeah.
It shapes everything.
It grounds his entire message, yeah. It speaks to that specific reality, the displacement, the life in the camp.
And his big hope, the aspiration he held on to, was to live long enough to go back.
To return with his loved ones to their original hometown, yeah. He names it as Occupied Ascalon, or Majdal,
But then he says, God's will was swifter.
which is just so poignant. It captures that sense of loss, but also maybe destiny within this larger struggle.
Definitely speaks to that deep historical longing for lost homes.
It does, and it frames his life and death that way. But his message wasn't only personal, was it? He talks about being a witness, about journalism.
Right. He's very direct about his own suffering. He says he lived pain in all its details, tasted agony and loss repeatedly. But despite all that, his professional commitment, he says, was unwavering.
Yeah, he states he never hesitated to convey the truth as it is, without falsification or distortion.
You have to wonder what that costs someone, that kind of commitment in a war zone.
Oh, the personal toll must be immense, witnessing so much and still trying to find the words, the objective truth, if that's even possible.
And in a world like saturated with information, misinformation, that stance is crucial.
Absolutely. It's about trust, accountability, even when the truth is, well, deeply uncomfortable or dangerous.
Which leads us to his plea. And it's also an indictment, really.
A very powerful one. He speaks directly against those who remain silent.
Yeah, and those who accepted our killing even suffocated our breath, as he puts it.
He doesn't mince words at all.
No. He says the remnants of our children and women did not move their hearts, didn't stop what he calls the massacre against his people, going on for over a year and a half at that point.
Wow. That really shows the depth of his moral conviction, I guess, and how he saw the wider world's response or lack of it.
What do you think is the implication there, this collective failure he's pointing to?
Well, it feels like he's saying silence isn't neutral. That in situations like this, apathy or inaction can actually feel like complicity to those suffering.
It's a heavy critique of international, well, indifference, maybe.
I think so. A reminder that not acting, not speaking out can be seen as a choice with real devastating consequences.
So given that stark view, what did he actually call for? What were his recommendations?
He moves towards these sort of direct recommendations, first for Palestine itself.
Ah, yes, the description. The jewel in the crown of Muslims and the heartbeat of every free person in this world.
It's incredibly evocative, isn't it? Lifting it beyond just a place, making it a universal symbol.
Yeah, linking its fate to freedom everywhere.
But then he immediately brings it back down to the human cost, specifically the children.
That imagery is, it's brutal. He says they weren't given enough life to dream and live in safety and peace. Their pure bodies crushed by thousands of tons of Israeli bombs and rockets and remain scattered on walls. It's hard to even read.
It is. And that contrast, that juxtaposition between the jewel and this horrific reality makes his next call feel even more urgent.
Which is that universal call.
Exactly. He pleads, do not let restrictions silence you, nor borders hinder you.
He envisions people becoming bridges towards the liberation of the land and its people.
Until the sun of dignity and freedom shines on our usurped land. It's a call to action, really.
What is it about calls like that, coming from such intense personal pain, that makes them resonate so much?
I think it's that very combination. The personal experience gives the universal call its weight, its authenticity. He's not just talking theory. He's lived the consequences of freedom denied.
So he's inviting everyone, essentially, to see this not just as a struggle, but connected to struggles everywhere.
Precisely. To transcend the borders and restrictions he literally just mentioned. Become part of a solution.
And then the focus shifts, doesn't it? It becomes intensely personal. He talks about his family.
Yes, his daughter, Sham. The regret there is so palpable.
The days did not allow him to see her grow as I dreamed. It's just universal parental heartbreak intensified.
Absolutely. And then his son, Salah.
He hopes Salah will become a helper and companion.
And more than that, to carry my worries and complete the message, it's that sense of continuity, of legacy passed down.
Especially heavy given the context.
Immensely so. Then he speaks of his mother.
Right, her prayers being his fortress, her light, his path. It shows where he drew strength from.
That bedrock of spiritual and emotional support, you feel it in the way he describes it.
And his wife, Bayan, Salah.
He praises her steadfastness. Despite the war, the separation, he compares her to an olive tree trunk that does not bend.
Wow, that's powerful imagery. Resilience, loyalty.
Exactly. Carrying trust with all strength and faith, he says. It really paints a picture of her strength in unimaginable circumstances.
And his very last instruction regarding his family.
It's a plea to others, to gather around them and be a support for them after God.
Just a basic human plea for their care, their safety.
In the face of everything else, yeah. His final thought is for them.
So, we've walked through this message.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredibly layered.
It really is. So personal, yet it speaks to these huge universal themes. Truth, loss, dignity, freedom.
It definitely makes you consider the power an individual voice can hold, even when facing, well, overwhelming forces.
Mm-hmm.
For you, looking back at everything we've just discussed, what's the thing that really stands out? The most impactful part of his testament?
That's a tough question. I mean, the sheer rawness of his descriptions is unforgettable, but maybe it's that final challenge he issues, implicitly and explicitly.
The challenge to not be silent.
Yeah, that. In a world flooded with information, noise, what does it actually mean to refuse to be silenced by restrictions or stopped by borders when you're faced with difficult truth?
That's a good question.
And how do stories like this one, so deeply personal, how do they actually shape how we understand the bigger picture, the global narratives?
And what responsibility, if any, do we have when we hear them, when we listen to messages this powerful, this raw?
Exactly. What does it demand of us just to listen, to reflect, something to think about?